This is the Ecommerce Braintrust, a podcast about building momentum online for established consumer brands. Join our hosts and their expert guests for high-level conversations about e-commerce strategies, trends, and innovations. Access our Braintrust and boost your brand's e-commerce potential.
Hello and welcome to the Ecommerce Braintrust podcast. I'm Jordan Ripley, Director of Retail Operations here at Acadia, and I'll be sitting in for our usual host, Julie Spear, today. We are joined by several smart folks today for a nice little roundtable from across Acadia's retail media teams, account management, strategy teams, all of them to unpack the initial takes, kind of what we're seeing about Black Friday and Cyber Monday. We are recording this on December 3rd, so a mere less than 24 hours since Cyber Monday wrapped. So we'll do our best to deliver some hot takes and even some data-informed decisions perhaps today. But with us, we have Ross Walker, who heads up our retail paid media team. We have Joanna, who is an account manager on some of our largest accounts, brings a great perspective. And then finally, Predrag, who's an account strategist and really an expert on all things merchandising, promotions, and has a lot of good data to share today. So with that, welcome, Ross. Welcome, Joanna. Welcome, Predrag. Great to have you on.
Great to be here.
Yeah, thank you. Hello.
Thank you for the kind intro. Good to be here.
Perfect. Well, excellent. Let's dive in. I know time is pressed on this holiday peak shopping time. Before we get into the meat of the questions today, one thing that I think we're all struggling with is like what to actually call this event now that Amazon keeps adding days to it. So I wanted to informally pull the three of you experts and say, how do you like to talk about this holiday? What do you call it?
I'm old school. For me, it's T5.
T5.
It's going to be very hard to break out of that. I still think of those as like kind of the core period. But this might be the last year of it, honestly, looking at some of the data.
This is like how you're going to be able to date your generation of, if you're a T5, that's like wearing skinny jeans at this point. Like, people will know you're a millennial if you say T5. Joanna, what about you? What do you refer to this as?
Fondly, I think it's been like Q turkey or Q4 turkey Q4.
Turkey Q4.
I don't know. I haven't refined it yet, but that's how I visualize it when I look at the calendar with a fall prime event and then this. It's one big chunk.
Yeah, one big turkey chunk. We'll workshop that one. That's actually a perfect segue into what I would like to introduce on this episode, which is the concept of Turkey Infinite. I feel like if we introduce that, we'll get ahead of Amazon no matter how many number of days they add. We'll just live in perma-turkey from now until
I think that's called a tesseract. I think we're just
the Turkey Tesseract.
The Turkey Tesseract?
Yes, the Turkey is stripped, perhaps. Okay, excellent. We got all the important stuff out of the way. So let's go into actual results, both quantitative and qualitative. I'd love to just kind of do a vibe check on how brands are feeling about Q4 generally. And if we widen our lens a little bit to the economy more broadly, I think it's fair to say a lot of us have been living in that sort of dual reality of, the economy is pretty good for most folks, but maybe our confidence in the economy is not so good. And I'm just wondering, with the many, many brands that the three of you work with, like, where do they see themselves in terms of optimistic versus cautious? Are they trying to blow out sales at all costs? Are they trying to kind of, raid discounts in so they can participate but still preserve margin? Like, how did brands feel about this event? How did they approach it? Open question to anybody.
Yeah, I can go first regarding this. So generally, the brands that I work with are having major concerns about closing 2024 and have many, many profitability questions regarding these tentpole events.
Yeah.
So Q4, definitely busiest time of the year for all of the brands. We have multiple tentpole events, holiday gifting seasons. So at the same time, brands are approaching 2025, preparing new investments or strategies. So definitely, these preparing Q4 promotional strategies, we had to do a deeper dive in the profitability analysis and align discounts with it.
Yeah. Ross, Joanna, kind of see the same thing with your clients?
I have a variation. I have a few brands where they are in the game is trying to grow rapidly and gain market share, and they're sacrificing profitability to do so, and they are seeing 80% growth year over year. So they're like totally murdering this event. And I have other brands that don't really know where they are in the game. They don't know if they should be taking profit or if they should be trying to gain market share, and they're not doing they're not doing either very well, and they're kind of hitting like 5-10%. And there are some brands that are like, nope, trying to be profitable, didn't discount and shrank this year versus last year.
Yeah. Joanna, what's your perspective here?
Yeah, I would echo that just on the various stages. The brands, I think just given how long the event was this year, I had some brands who participate in the entire PED to maintain that badging, and they saw tremendous growth from Prime Day from the fall of Prime Day as well as last year Black Friday, Cyber Monday. The smallest amount of increase I saw was 80%, and I saw up to like 350% from previous year. And so the ones who grew the most were in the growth phase of needing to participate. And whereas the brands who felt participation was mandatory but hesitant to participate, we saw them participate with just Black Friday, the day after, and then Cyber Monday. And they still saw great growth versus the trailing 30-day average, but it certainly wasn't close to the numbers of that Prime badging from other brands.
Yeah, it seems self-fulfilling here, right? Like the brands that are willing to do anything for growth, the growth is there if you're willing to like discount for 12 days straight and be aggressive about it, but not every brand is like ready to be in that position. That's a perfect segue into the next conversation topic, which is some things changed this year, right? Like we added a day, the merchandising was a little bit different. Predrag, can you give us a primer on this? I think this was something that maybe wasn't super clear to everyone leading into the event and something that brands might be wrestling after the event. But like, what did you see in terms of the way that we can set up promos, the way that brands reacted to that? How was that different for this year?
So Amazon always finds some ways to surprise us. For every tentpole events, we have to align our strategies to Amazon requirements, and they are only available for a few weeks before the event. So, small time gap. One of my personal favorite promotional types are Prime exclusive discounts. So, as you are getting the Black Friday and Cyber Monday badges, you also get a spot inside of the Black Friday deals page inside of the search engine results. And to be honest, the storefront looks great with all of those badges. This year, Amazon forced sellers to place discounts on previous aligned dates in order to get the badges. To be perfectly clear, you had to select 9 days of discount to have the Black Friday badge and 3 days of discount to have the Cyber Monday badge.
Yeah.
So for you to have both, you needed to submit a full 12 days of discounts.
Yeah.
What was it? I know that you would have to do windows in the past. What was it last year?
It's extended every year. I remember for my vendor clients last year, they used to just want to do Black Friday and Cyber Monday.
Right.
Then Amazon said you have to do all four days.
Okay.
Then they said last year, I think all 5. This year, 6.
Yeah.
So for like best
or
deals,
9, if you want to do Black Friday, yeah.
No, but for sellers, it extended out to 9. So for vendors, it's been expanding too with the best deals.
It's wild. Okay. Yeah. No, it makes sense where a lot of people were wrestling is like, am I willing to commit to that? And you have Fall Prime Day happening right before that. So it's not like we're like have never discounted these products.
What we saw with some of our brands that were doing the extended deals to get the full badges is that like a lot of their loyal customers purchased ahead of Black Friday, Cyber Monday. So like they like in the lead up period, like really saw a lot of loyal customer buy-in go. And so efficiency was very high. Benchmarks year over year were very strong for like total sellout and advertising efficiency. But then on the event days themselves, it's like, well, who's left to capitalize? It's like, it's all non-branded. It's all new customers. And so we saw like CPC and efficiency were a lot higher because we were chasing after more new customers. Like the balance probably used to be a little bit more even between like new customer acquisition and loyal customers cashing in on a limited event day. Whereas now it's so extended, all the loyal customers buy up front early, and so the events look less efficient.
I mean, just speculating, thinking about how I approach this as a shopper and not as a marketer. It's like, if I have something in my cart that because I know that brand and I know that product and I've saved it and it goes on promo on the 21st, like there's a decent chance I'm going to buy that. But if I'm in the market for headphones or whatever, likely I'm going to start that journey when I know the discounts are the highest. I'm not going to like impulse buy that on the 21st when I see it go on promo. So that all sort of rationally makes sense. This idea of an increasing number of days for these that we've seen, and then of course an increasing number of promotional days that brands have to commit to get badging, it's points to a theory I have, which is, if we think about Amazon and the levers that they have to pull to increase the volume on this, it's like they're subject to macroeconomic factors, right? How much total demand is there going to be, which we talked about is like a little bit questionable this year. And then they have to figure out, how much merchandising can they deploy to make them more favorable relative to other retail channels? And then how much ad load can they cram into the platform to like derive more profit from these events, right? And I feel like from a consumer demand, it's questionable. From like net new people like discovering Black Friday for the first time, right? Like this is and Cyber Monday is a phenomenon that's been around for a decade. There's not a lot of new customers that are coming to this. And then ad load that's lower funnel, I also think is probably pretty maxed out here. Like we see a lot of like upper funnel branded ad load that's available, but it's like on day of direct response. You're not going to be like deploying a lot of streaming TV, right? To try to get, maybe, but Ross, I'd be curious for your perspective on like this as well. But this is my theory is that like you have to lengthen the event to find net new customers, net new ad inventory, net new like profit levers for Amazon. And this is something that will continue to see how far they can push that envelope.
I mean, the initial strategy for Amazon, I think, is we need to like reduce the logistical challenges of having like only 2 days of the year when all of the inventory goes out the door. Yeah. And so like, that's why they added, fall Prime Day. And I think this is following the same game plan. I think it's like, there's a question of the macroeconomic and the demand generation, but I think the logistical piece is really important too. I think they're more profitable on whole if they have an extended deal period where they don't have to pay 1 million people overtime and like crush the warehouse. Like I think that's a factor here too. So I would like put that into this basket. I think they're just like trying to smooth the demand curve a little bit.
That's a great point. And so Joanna and Petra, as folks, particularly Joanna as one who works on like the inventory side of things, like, did you feel this longer demand period was helpful from an inventory planning perspective? Did you feel like it was just as stressful as years past? Like, from an ops perspective, like, how did you feel this year stacked up?
From a planning perspective, I would certainly agree. It felt more relaxed knowing that we didn't have just a 5-day window that we could cadence. And that being said, we did see a lot of delays. So some instances we had some go out of stock and then actually come back in stock during the event. Or if we had to pivot from FBA to FBM listing, we had time to do so and still recoup. So from that standpoint, the inventory standpoint, it was nice to have a longer duration.
Yeah, you can at least make up, if you missed sales on the 24th, at least you had 7 more days to try to make up for it. That makes sense.
I would like to add that for the inventory planning perspective, it was basically hard to plan out the capacity or the sales for the whole event.
Sure.
Definitely.
Because you had no
to predict,
every year you get more promo days, so you have to try to understand, like, will there actually be demand on the 21st? Yeah. Some of the early data that we're seeing, which I think we'll dive into now, is there seems to be a small bump at the start of it on the 21st, right, where the comps are 40-50% of what they were the prior year, and then a sort of like slow burn for the following days, and then the huge peak that you'd expect for Black Friday, Cyber Monday period. So let's move out of the kind of speculative portion of today and into the actual data of what you're seeing. And I'm curious. Yeah, I know some of the vendor data is still settling, but we have seller data, we have ad attributed data. What's our take on the actual results? What do you see with your clients? Good, bad? If you had to do a headline of like much better than last year, about the same as last year, much worse than last year, where do you fall in that perspective for your clients?
For me, by and large, better than last year. For just about every brand. The variances being like how much they participated in promotions and ad strategy. So that's a piece we can come back to.
But all else equal, if I committed to a reasonable, like, aggressive promo strategy, I had the ad budget to support, I'm going to be better this holiday period than I was last.
Definitely.
Joanna, Predrag, what's your perspective?
I certainly saw the same. I had one client that was down year over year, and they didn't have any eligibility for various reasons. But otherwise, we saw surprisingly our results across the board were really similar to Fall Prime Day. So they weren't as great as July Prime, but they were really similar to what we saw in early October from what I could find. And then year over year saw really great increases in lifts for those participating, comparing participation from 2023 as well.
Yeah, I noticed, like, I remember doing, I can't remember if it was you, Predrag. I know you've been on this to do recaps before, but I just feel like every time we go into one of these, Amazon has added more days or added another event, and we're always a little bit cautious. And we're like, well, people showed up and they bought it. It's pretty good.
Definitely.
You see it too, Predrag, from your clients?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. From my portion of clients, year over year, I see a significant growth in more than 60%. There's always some clients that stand out with more than 400% increase, but they are all in the plus. One thing that I would like to add that Ross already mentioned, I noticed that the Black Friday was not the peak of shopping days. So previous days definitely went ahead of Black Friday and generated more sales.
Okay, interesting. And like in total, in the lead up that you're able to get there?
Not in total, but in specific days were higher than the actual Black Friday.
Okay, for a subset of clients. If you're that client, that's a nice bonus to get a huge lead like that. Yeah, I mean, all this makes sense too. If Amazon has always been like a price-led marketplace, that's a key component of value outside of fulfillment times, right? So the price has always been a huge lever within a marketplace, and then two, and that's got to be exacerbated by the fact that like people are sort of hesitant about the economy and are generally more price conscious. So all those things seem to think if we have a long deal period, it's going to do well. I saw Adobe release their holiday shopping trends this morning, and they were showing again, like on average, a roughly like high single digit or low 10 to 12% lift year on year for promotional activity and shopping. So clearly our clients are generally outpacing that as relative high growth clients, but still industry wide, we're still seeing year on year growth pretty consistently here, which makes sense. One thing that I always like to understand from those of you that are in the trenches is smooth sailing this year from a platform perspective. Any weird glitches? What was the sort of anxiety level coming out of this? How many of you still have eye glitches? How did things go?
Definitely not smooth sailing.
Yeah, okay, so not choppy waters.
It never was.
It never will be.
PD issues every morning. Featured offers got taken away multiple times. Amazon is doing bigger and bigger sweeps throughout the internet, matching prices. So
sure.
Yeah, even during this Black Friday, Cyber Monday promotional period, I saw that we got attacked multiple times by other sellers.
How so?
They reported us using their brand names, even though in fact they used ours.
So IP complaints.
That got our listings taken down and really created a chaotic period.
Yeah. That's high on the stress meter there. Listing attack. Ross, Joanna, what about on your side?
So the ad console is like often notoriously finicky, but I would say it didn't break at any point. And I actually think that the spend and sales attribution window, if you're watching it hourly, I think it actually improved a little bit. Okay. But there were a couple of little bugs, like if we're trying to make budget or bid changes within the platform, like we got little error messages, and some of the team found that if you used Microsoft Edge instead of Chrome, that solved the problem.
Again, dating yourself as a millennial, having Microsoft Edge installed.
But I think all of it was solvable. Like we just used PackView to make the adjustments as needed. So that was the API didn't really have any slowdowns. It was just the UI that had a problem. But it was minor.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, compared to like full outages in years past, like some console tables not loading, not the worst thing in the world. Joanna, what about you? Like a few bugs?
Yeah, I would. Two things that come to mind. Echoing Predrag's note of increased crawling. So making sure we did our checks to make sure all of our listings were in really great shape, compliance, but we had just all these flags come down as soon as the deal started it didn't take down our listings, he experienced, but there were still these influx of flags that came through that we were able to resolve, and luckily we didn't see suppressions from that standpoint. But one of the bane of my existence is the reference price for PEDs. We're in such great shape. We've had lead up success, we've had, and then all of a sudden on day 2 of the Black Friday PED badging, we saw a suppression due to reference price. So
is that a reference price from historic? Because I know there's a certain percentage to historical that you have to maintain, or is this off-channel reference pricing that it's picking up on from like promotions on others, or do you know?
I believe it's off channel. I don't know for sure. It's been quite nonsensical, to be honest. And so we haven't been able to pinpoint because we've had success. We're very carefully, strategically leading up to the promotion, making sure we're making the tiered cadences so that we can be eligible for everything. And so we had to pivot, quite a few things from PEDs to coupons. And this happens every event. So it's just something we're always on the lookout for. But alas, it reared its head again this event. I think some brands suffer more than others, but it is always one of the first things I check just to see what's suppressed, because you don't always get an email about that, but you will get a compliance email for something maybe not impacted necessarily, but I feel money.
Like, I totally get that this is a particularly annoying thing as people managing brands on Amazon, that it's like, you never know if your deal is real or not until it's actually run. Counterpoint to that, though, from a consumer perspective, like, I feel like there's this influx of promotions that are sort of pseudo promotions, where it's like, oh, we know we have to participate in this, but actually it's not that much of a discount from what you could get street price for this any other time of the year. So I do like the fact that Amazon is like kind of holding to the fact that this actually has to be a meaningful promotion for it to get badging and like build up that consumer trust on the front end as someone who actually wants a real deal and doesn't want to feel hustled by fake merchandising.
It bears out, I think, for like one of my clients as well, that they didn't run, promos. And so there's no badging telling the consumer like how good and legitimate the deal was. And they had strike through pricing because Amazon was price matching them, but no one cared. Like, they don't trust.
It's hard to ignore a shiny red button. Our little rat brains will never overcome that. Yeah. Okay. Last question before I let y'all go. The Cyber Monday period has now closed. The shopping period has not ended by any means. A lot of interesting developments that have happened in the Amazon ads ecosystem as of late, as well as in the promo ecosystem, thinking a lot about brand tailored promos, AMC audience, bid boosting for sponsored products. Anything that's like, I can't wait to see how this new feature plays out in this last couple of weeks of the year, either from the media or the merchandising side?
From the merchandising side, something that I always utilize is setting up brand-tailored promotions for brand cart abandoners. So those are the customers that added the product to the cart but didn't in fact complete the purchase. These numbers tend to be really, really high after tentpole events. And of course, before Christmas, a good reorder coupon might bring the heat up on the listing itself. So definitely a strategy to implement in the upcoming weeks.
Yeah. Ross, on the media side, I love that.
So something we've been using a lot of the new AMC audience data for sponsored ads to just like increase our bids if people fell into a certain behavioral bucket. So we found during this event, like I was able to scale a lot my Otto campaigns that are targeting people that have added to cart in the past or people that have like purchased multiple products from our brand in the past, but they're not searching for our products, right? So it's like we're targeting those people in search when they're browsing, but not necessarily for our products. Those were very impactful.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. So like getting a little more aggressive because you have a narrow aperture on your audience. And even when those terms are incredibly relevant for your product.
And we weren't able to touch those people with search ads in the past. And so it just gets in front of them in a very potent way.
Yeah. Find them wherever they are. Okay. Well, excellent. Ross, Joanna, Predrag, I know this is a busy week, so I really appreciate all three of you coming in to share your insights. I learned a ton. I can't wait to see what happens with Turkey Infinite next year. Thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thanks.
Thank you for being
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.